invocation prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Just call and response. So I'll say it and you respond like that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're reading this morning from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is one of our principal Vedic texts, which is presented previously in Sanskrit. The verse on this board is in Sanskrit, one of the original languages, like that. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, our teacher, guide, and spiritual master, we've been able to have the opportunity to understand the Sanskrit into English, like that, and many other languages now around the world. So welcome to everyone to this morning's Bhagavatam class. My name is Sankirtan Priya. Wasn't really down for giving class, but hey, we can be an impromptu class and do a discussion. We're covering 3 verses today. Two from yesterday, one from today. So 22, 23, and 24. This is Canto 10, Chapter 5, which is entitled The Meeting of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudev. And we are covering verses 22, 23, and 24. 22 doesn't have a purport, and 23 and 24 does, so we will cover those. Yeah. So what I suggest, because 24 is on the board, I'll recite myself 22 and 23 with the translation and the purport, and then we will discuss the other verse, the 24, together, like that. Yeah. I'll also give some context because there's new devotees here from for the first time, I believe, in this environment in a class like this. Is that right? Yeah. Where are you guys from? France? And?
From Italy.
Where? Italy? Netherlands. And is English okay?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right. So I'll just recite 22 and 23. Pujita sukhamashina pritsavannamayam adrataha prasaktadi swamatmayor idam aha vishampate. So that's the Sanskrit. And the translation in English is, O Maharaj Parikshit, having thus been received and welcomed by Nanda Maharaj with honor, Vasudev sat down very peacefully and inquired about his own 2 sons because of intense love for them. Now the little bit of context around this is that Nanda Maharaj, who is in the previous age, was the stepfather or the adoptive father of Krishna, who is the dark deity on the altar here. And on the right altar you also see another personality, a male personality with white complexion. His name is Balaram. So they are brothers. They were basically born of one mother, but for whatever reasons they were adopted by this personality called Nanda Maharaj. And their original father, Vasudev, is now meeting with Nanda Maharaj in this place called Mathura, where they were actually born in the first place. So, like that, that's the context at the moment. So they're meeting for the first time after about 6-7 years, no, maybe 4-5 years, like that. And Krishna was being brought up in this place called Vrindavan, or Nandagaon rather, before going to Vrindavan. And these places are in the region of India in the previous age. So I will explain about ages and how that works also, like that. And so the next verse is 23. Distya brata pravayasa idam aprasya yachate prajasya nirvitasya praja yat sampadataya. The translation and purport is, my dear brother Nanda Maharaj, at an advanced age you had no son at all and were hopeless of having one. Therefore, that now you have a son is a sign of great fortune. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki At an advanced age, one generally cannot beget a male child. If by chance one does not beget a child at this age, the child is generally female. Thus Vasudeva indirectly asked Nanda Maharaj whether he had actually begotten a male child or a female child. Vasudeva knew that Yashoda had given birth to a female child, whom he had swapped and replaced with a male child. This was a great mystery, and Vasudeva wanted to determine whether this mystery was already known to Nanda Maharaj. On inquiring, however, he was confident that the mystery of Krishna's birth and his being placed in care of Yashoda was still hidden. There was no danger since Kamsa, their uncle, maternal uncle, at least could not learn what had already happened. So the story here is that Vasudeva and Devaki is the sister of this personality called Kamsa, who was an evil man. He was a bit of a demoniac personality. And there was a prophecy that the 8th child of Devaki, his sister, would be his death. So then because he was demoniac nature, he got afraid of that and he didn't want to die. So he said, I will kill Devaki before she gives birth to the 8th child, like that. And so, but Nanda Maharaj, the husband of Devaki, he protected her, because that is what a duty is for a husband to do, to protect the family, including the female, the children, the whole family. That is one of the key duties of the husband. And so very much like that, he protected her life and the life of the children from the demon Kamsa, right? By promising him that, okay, it's the 8th child that you want, so I will bring every child, when the child is born, I will bring them to you, and you can decide what you want to do with it, right, like that. So eventually, cut a long story short, all the first six children were actually killed by Kamsa, the demon brother of Devaki, and the 7th child was supposedly Devaki had a miscarriage, but it was through the potency of the material energy or the spiritual energy was transported to a different womb of the second wife of Vasudeva, yes, Rohini. And so Balaram, the brother, was already born in this different place. And so then when Krishna was born, he was then taken. As soon as he was born, because he is the Supreme Personality Godhead, Krishna, the topmost Lord who has many expansions and has created this entire creation, and many, many universes emanate from him, like that. And so he was empowered, he empowered Vasudeva to take him from the prison in Mathura to Nandagaon, where Yashoda had given birth to a female child as well as a twin, a male child at that time, who was the Nanda Kishore Krishna. And so as soon as Vasudeva had placed Vasudeva Krishna next to Nanda Kishore Krishna, they merged into one body, and he replaced the female, and he took the female back to Mathura, to the prison. Right? So basically, this was born in a prison. Kamsa, the evil king, had prisoned Devaki and Vasudeva in this prison because he was still afraid of his own death, like that. So then, as soon as Kamsa learned that Devaki had given birth already, but this time it was a female, he still tried to kill her. But because she was the material, marginal, external potency of the Lord, she took her original form as Yogamaya or Mahamaya, Durga, and then she warned Kamsa that you can't kill me because the one that is supposed to kill you has already taken birth somewhere else, and then she vanished like that. So Kamsa became very afraid of his situation, and he understood that actually the one who is supposed to kill me has already taken birth. Just a bit of context. So, does everybody know what yoga is? You guys do yoga? Yeah. What is yoga?
It's linking with God or connecting with God.
Wonderful. Yes. So a process of yoga is to link to the higher spiritual creation or spiritual activity, like that. Some people call that God, some people call that spiritual energy, some people call that whatever they like. And so there are various types of yogas. We have a yoga that allows us to meditatively link, called mantra yoga, japa mantra. Mantrayate means to connect the mind with the Supreme Soul, the original soul that's within you, and the Supreme Soul, like that. And then there are other yogas as well that are related to the body. So for example, asanas. You may have heard of Hatha Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Ayanga Yoga, different types of yogas. And then there are other yogas like Bhakti Yoga. This exercise that we are doing in order to connect, because we are actually connecting the spiritual text here to our original state, which is Spirit Soul, through Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is the yoga of knowledge, yoga of wisdom, yoga of understanding how the information and knowledge is passed through, like that. And so these are varieties of yoga that we actually perform here at New Mayapur. We also have yoga classes for the body, where we have different asanas. That's on Mondays and Fridays. And then these type of yogas are every day, like that. Okay, we continue in our story. So today's verse then, we recite together. It's a call and response. So, Distya samsara chakresmin Vartamana punarbhava Upalabdho bhavan adya Durlabhan priya darshanam Distya samskara chakresmin Vartamana punarbhava Upalabdho bhavan adya Durlabham priya darshanam Distya samsara chakresmin Vartamana punarbhava Upalabdho bhavan adya Durlabha priya darshanam. So there is a word for word translation of that into English, which we'll recite now. Oh, sorry, Prabhu? Yeah.
Dishya samsara chakresmin
Dishya samskara chakresmin Vartamana punarbhava
Upalabdho bhavan adya
Upalabdho bhavan adya
Durlabham priya darshanam.
Durlabham priya darshanam
Dishya samsara chakresmin
Vartamana punarbhava Upalabdho bhavan adya Durlabham priya darshanam
Dishya samsara chakresmin
Distya samsara chakresmin Vartamana punarbhava Upalabdho bhavan adya Durlabham priya darshanam. Vaishnavis? Okay, so word for word. Distya, it is also by great fortune. Samsara chakre, samsara chakre asmin, in this world of birth and death. Vartamana, although I was existing. Punabhava, my meeting with you is just like another birth. Upalabdha, being obtained by me. Bhavan, you. Adya, today. Durlabham, although it was never to happen. Priya Priya Darshanam, to see you again, my very dear friend and brother. Translation and purport. Translation: it is also by good fortune that I am seeing you. Having obtained this opportunity, I feel as if I have taken birth again. Even though one is present in this world, to meet with intimate friends and dear relatives in this material world is extremely difficult. Purport. Vasudeva had been imprisoned by Kamsa, and therefore, although present in Mathura, he was unable to see Nanda Maharaj for many years. Therefore, when they met again, Vasudeva considered this meeting to be another birth, like that. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, so yes, so we've discussed so far that this meeting between Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva is a very joyous meeting. It's like we were saying in yesterday's class that other places in this material world we see people meet and they're very, very joyful. Their tears come in their eyes. They're either joyful because they're meeting or they are remorseful because they're departing. Where is there such a place where you see this action happen in the material world regularly?
Airport.
An airport, yes, an airport, a place where people come, they land, and then their relatives or friends, they meet, and then they come together, and they're so joyful. I haven't seen you in such a long time. It might have been just months. And it is like as if their past memories have come back to them, and they feel like they've taken birth again, isn't it? So this is what Vasudeva is feeling, that I haven't seen Nanda Maharaj, who is so kindly actually looking after my very, very beloved son, rather sons, and taking upon himself to look after him. Vasudeva was still in prison, but obviously at this time he'd come out because the birth of the sons had already happened, and Kamsa had sort of realized that because of this appearance of this spiritual energy in form of a demigod, or rather the external energy of the Lord, Durga, he saw, hang on, this spiritual energy has really come about from my sister, so she must be quite elevated. I must take care of her and not prison her. So he felt remorseful, so he didn't prison her anymore. He gave her a nice place and her husband a nice place to live in the kingdom. And so like that, we have also heard that there is something called samsara chakre asmin, in this world of birth and death. So in this world, the amazing thing is that birth happens, and then there's some growth, and then there is some old age and disease, and then death happens, isn't it? Just like for everything. For example, these flowers, yesterday when this flowers garland was on the deity, today they're feeling really, really sorry for themselves, isn't it? They're feeling like, look, I'm really, I feel dying, drying up, aren't they? Because there is no life force in them anymore. So this process of birth, old age, disease and death is a cycle. Continuously happens. After you die, you take birth again based on your karma. And karma is written down and explained in the principal text, which is the Bhagavad Gita. conversation between Krishna and his dear friend and devotee Arjuna. All these concepts of karma, reincarnation, purpose of this life, who we really are, what is our real purpose in this human form of life, is described in the Bhagavad Gita. And this text here, Srimad Bhagavatam, is the next level of detail that talks about devotees who have practiced practically how the application of the Bhagavad Gita. It's called the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is 1 volume, 700 verses, and Bhagavatam is 12 volumes. Like that. That's why it's the detail. And so, in this scenario, and in the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, it explains about this process of cycle of birth and death. There's a very nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita called Dehinosmin yatha dehe komaram yamanam jaram tatha dehantara prapti stira tatrana muyati. It talks about how this embodied soul, which is our true nature, are we this body made of earth, water, fire, ether, air only? Or are we actually something more than that? What do we think? Something more than that? We are not just this body, or are we more than that? What do we think? More than that. What are we in reality? What do we think we are in reality? Because this body is made of earth, water, fire, ether, air, skin, bone, blood, etc. like that, which is the components of earth, water, fire, ether, air, from a gross perspective. On a subtle perspective, there is mind, intelligence and ego, which can't be seen, but we know it's there. Just like air can't be seen, gravity can't be seen, but it's there, we know it's there. So similarly, the soul, which is the true driver of this entire body, can't be seen, because it's there. It's actually part and parcel of the superior energy, which actually is the originator of this entire creation, like this. And so, because the body dies, because we know scientifically also, right? Every 7 years, the whole body is dead. Because scientifically, the cells die and regenerate. Every 7 years, every cell in our body has died and regenerated. That means we are already actually dying in this body every 7 years. But if the body has changed, what has stayed the same? The consciousness has stayed the same. So where does the consciousness come from?
The heart.
The heart. And is that the heart organ?
No, the soul.
The soul. Okay, so within the heart organ, within the core of the heart, there is the placement of the soul, which is actually all pervading in the body. And then within that, within this gross body, there is also the subtle body, which is, you may have heard of, how many of you have heard of near-death experience or out-of-body experience? Yeah? Do you know what out-of-body experience is? Maybe anybody can explain. What is out-of-body experience?
It's when your body, or at least your mind, is like above your body, and it's like in the astral plane. So you see yourself from above.
Wonderful, wonderful, yes. Many examples are there on YouTube, on Google, where they actually show when people are being operated on or when they're having an accident, their subtle body leaves their gross body and comes out. But they are able to see. The eyes are still in the gross body. So then how are they able to perceive and see? Because the subtle body carries the mind, intelligence and ego and the soul and actually sees what's going on. So there's been many examples like that. There was one person on an operating theatre when they actually passed away. And then the subtle body came out of the gross body to see what's going on. And they could see, they could hear the conversation of the doctor saying, get the machine to restart their body. And then they jump-started them, as it were, and then the subtle body came back into the gross body. And they could perceive themselves again back in the body. So naturally we see that this is how also reincarnation happens. One body dies and the other body takes form again. From our day-to-day karma, from activities that we're doing regularly in this life, we are already writing our next body. Because we have desires, we have accumulation of karma debits and karma credits. Based on our karma debits, karma credits and our desire, at the time of death, we accept the next body based on that. So if we are, here we practice something called vegetarianism and compassion, right? Because in the Bible it says, "Thou shalt not kill." So we follow that. We follow that spiritual anecdote, or instruction that thou shalt not kill. So we are compassionate to all the living entities because they are all created by, we believe Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Others may believe other superior energies to be supreme. That's not the important part. The important part is this science is a spiritual science. A science of the self that actually helps you to better yourself, to come to the platform of goodness, from platform of ignorance and passion into goodness. These are the three modes of material nature. The three modes govern our behavior and interaction with each other and all living entities in this material world. There is a mode of ignorance, where we are more lethargic, lazy, angry, envious, prideful, etc. There is a mode of passion, where there is lots of activity. Sometimes the passion is bad, sometimes the passion is good. Passion is needed in terms of ensuring that there is activity, there is action that's going on, there is movement. But that same passion, if it's done in sort of in a bad way, it can lead to disaster, like that. And then there is activity in the mode of goodness, and that goodness is like helpful, allowing growth to happen, happiness. All these aspects, love, all these aspects are in the mode of goodness. So when we do things in a peaceful way, that's in the mode of goodness. This spiritual science allows you to better yourself, to come to the platform of goodness. So whatever you're practicing, whether it's other religions, whether it's a spiritual activity, whatever it is you're practicing, it helps you to be the better version of yourself so you can practice it better. The ultimate goal is obviously to create love. To create genuine love that is unadulterated or unalloyed, which means that when you create that kind of love, whatever you serve as, whoever you serve, is unconditional. Just like a mother to a child. When a child is born, the parents are unconditionally serving the child, isn't it? Yeah, like that. And so, if we're not serving in this material world to a child or a parent or something, if we are sort of independent, then eventually what will happen, we will get bored and we will get a dog or a pet to serve. Isn't it? And then in that relationship, who is the real master in that relationship? Is it the person owning the dog or a pet or a cat? Or is it the pet, the dog or the cat, the master? The dog or the cat is the master, isn't it? Because we have to feed it, we have to clean after it, we have to take it for a walk or outside, we have to go take him to the vet and spend money on making sure it's healthy. All these things we've got to do. So genuinely, that's the master and we are the servant. But we want to be the master and we want to be served. In this world, everybody's serving each other, actually. If we're not serving the dog, if we're not serving the pet or a family, then we are serving the boss at work, then we are serving our community, we're serving our neighbor. Everyone is doing something. Nobody's just sitting idle doing nothing. Because if you sit idle doing nothing, what happens? Food is not just going to fly into your mouth. Right? You still have to breathe, to live. So all these things are necessary to be part of this world. In order to genuinely serve unconditionally, this process of spiritual realization gives you that genuinity and actual love. So you might as well serve with love. When you serve with love unconditionally, you get all the benefits of this material world. Not only that, it qualifies you to be taken to the original state, which is your spirit self. We've just established that you are the soul, the spiritual soul. That means, do we actually belong in this material world of earth, water, fire, ether, air? Probably not. Most likely not. Why? Because there is, according to our scriptures, And by the grace of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who painstakingly, at a ripe old age of 70 years old, brought this knowledge to the West, so that we, all of us, sitting in this wonderful castle, can understand what is our real purpose of this human form of life. And therefore, by understanding that, we have a choice, because information and knowledge gives you the ability to make a decision with the right mindset, isn't it? Because without the right information, without the right knowledge, what decisions can we make? We are just in ignorance, just going through work, old age, birth, old age, disease and death again. Isn't it? But then with right information and knowledge, we are able to make a decision. Okay, do I want to stay in this material world of birth, old age, disease and death? Which I'm happy to do. If you're happy to do that, carry on. But develop this mode of goodness and be even happier in this material world than you already are. Or the alternative is to come back to your original state in the spiritual world and be eternally happy, because the character and the nature of the spiritual world is Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means eternal. Chit means full of knowledge. And Ananda means full of bliss or pleasure. So that is the constitutional position of your original self, the soul. And therefore, when we in that position, what happens is that we automatically feel happiness from inside. But it's just that our covering of this material body, and this material body is great vehicle for accepting pain, isn't it? So if you want to give this body pleasure, can you give pleasure to this tip of the nose? I mean, how can you? It's like, it's the tip of your nose. But when you punch it, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, it's going to start bleeding. So it's a great vehicle for accepting pain. So we can accept the pain in this body and stay in this body itself, or take another body. It's the same thing. A body is a body. We take an animal body, a tree body, or goat body, or a human body. It's a body. It's just the function in that body is different. Or we can go back to our original self and be Satchit Ananda, all-knowing, eternal, never dies, and blissful, ever happy. So your choice is yours. The information is there. So here, when the souls meet, when two happy souls meet, there is immense happiness. But sometimes when only bodies meet, without the happiness of the soul, there is some disharmony, isn't it? When the souls don't agree, when the minds don't agree, when there is envy, when there is all these other habits, then unfortunately what happens, that we don't want to meet with them. We feel remorseful, we feel sad, because there is some history. But when we meet with a joyful heart, then the behavior is like Vasudeva meeting Nanda Maharaj. There is love, there is like feeling of rebirth, because the memories are coming back, and then there is an ability to experience joy. And that is eternal joy, blissful joy, isn't it? And so like that, we practice this ability. I want to talk a little bit about this personality who is sitting here. Some people said to me when they first came to the temple room, they were a little bit startled when they saw, oh, is that a person sitting there? Why are they worshipping a statue? But this is a representation of the real person who was here only just 50 years ago, before he passed away in 1977. His ripe old age of 70, after painstakingly writing these scriptures from Sanskrit, or translating these scriptures from Sanskrit into English, he brought it to the West on a cargo ship. Not a very comfortable situation. In a cargo ship, he went to New York, and for the first year he struggled a lot. But he then imparted this knowledge to the hippies who turned happies by his knowledge and help, and therefore the whole world became Krishna conscious. From very humble beginnings of traveling in the short 12 years of traveling 14 times around the world, and opening 108 temples around the world, and having over 5,000 disciples, he was able to create an establishment that would cover and encompass the whole world, where the devotees or those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, spiritual realization, can go and visit. And now we have over 800 centers, eco-villages like this, temples, education centers, hospitals around the world, where we could go. Literally can call up and say, hey, I'm coming. And they say, come, we'll pick you up from the airport, you can stay here, we'll give you food, we'll give you shelter, there's a whole program, there's a big way of practicing your spiritual life, and you can be blissfully happy. Anywhere in the world, over 800 locations. Take your pick. Your blissful destination awaits you, like that. And so we are so thankful to Srila Prabhupada that he was able to give us this opportunity. Otherwise, right now, in this beautiful castle, living like kings, or rather servants of Krishna, the Supreme, having a feast every day, would be impossible. At home, for breakfast, what do you normally have for breakfast at home?
Conflicts.
Cornflakes. What else do you have at breakfast? Porridge. Fruits. Yes. So here, what else? Bread. Yeah. Here you have all of those things, plus khichdi. So you have fruits, you have porridge, you have bread, you have cake, you have khichdi, all in one breakfast. That's called a feast. Isn't it? Every day. And then for lunch, and then for dinner. Different things. Every day there's feasting. Prabhupada gave us this process of chanting, dancing, and feasting. And that's the process. Every day is like that. And we have beautiful gardens. Look at the weather. We have beautiful land. This is all over the world, not just here. And so we are so, so fortunate and lucky that he came to the West. Otherwise we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't be living like the Lord of the castle in this castle. Isn't it? So we are fortunate. So these friends are coming together, Nanda Maharaj and Vasudev, and they are seeing their great fortune, their distya. It is also by great fortune. They are seeing the great fortune, and we are also seeing our great fortune. Whenever we visit any of the 800 ISKCON centers around the world, the feeling is the same. If we've met the devotees there first, it's like just joining a family. It's just like visiting family anywhere in the world. And we see, wow, there's so much joy, there's so much singing, there's so much dancing, and there's so much feasting. Right. Okay, it's 15 minutes to go, and I would like to open it up for comments, discussion, questions, any additions. Yes, Christopher Prabhu.
I have two questions, but they are like questions that someone could ask, like
Okay.
skeptical or
Sure.
How do we say that? I play the devil.
Devil's advocate. Yes. Wonderful. We like devil's advocate. Tell us. Ask your comment question.
Yeah, my question would be first, why, for example, you said we are the soul, not the body. So on what basis do we accept this?
Okay.
What basis and why should I accept it?
Okay. So the first question is, why are we accepting that there is soul and not just this material body? Once the body dies, it dies, finished. There's nothing else after that. Very good question. Thank you. So we know, as we said in the talk, that the body is dying, but internally we feel there's something staying the same. We don't know what that something is because we can't see it. Science can't see it. Medical science can't see it. But when the body is seemingly dead, science says that life force or consciousness is not there anymore. The body is no longer conscious. So the absence of consciousness makes the body no longer move, isn't it? But if we look at the language, oh look, she is gone or he is gone. But they're not gone anywhere. They're still there. The body is still there, so they're still there. Where are they gone? Who is gone? Even science says that. Medical science says, oh, they've passed away, they've died. No, the body is there. They're not died, they're there. So what is gone? Something within the body has departed, but they can't put a finger on it as to what it is, because they can't see it. The material instruments cannot see something spiritual. We have spiritual energies here all over the place, but because we can't see it, it's impacting us. Because we can't see it, we're not able to accept it. Similarly, the mind exists. Now we know that the science have accepted that the mind exists. Though they can't see it, they're willing to accept it. Because there are now mind diseases that they have to cure. Alzheimer's, depression, schizophrenia, so many mind diseases that there is medication for now. Isn't it? Similarly, the soul also exists, which is driving this body. The absence of the spirit soul makes this body dull matter. It's like a child seeing a car moving. Oh, look, the car is moving by itself. But no, there's a driver driving the car. Similarly, the soul, the driver, drives this car vehicle. So that's why we know, Christopher Prabhu, that this body is not just dead matter, because matter does not move on its own. It has to have a presence, some electricity inside to make it move. Like that.
I had another question.
Sure.
Some people may argue or wonder, for example.
Speak up a little bit.
Yeah, why for example, you guys, what is your purpose?
Okay.
Like you just be there and live in the castle and eat and sleep like that,
Yes.
chant, or
Yes.
do your super spiritual things, or
Yes.
like what's the point?
What is this circus about? As they say, what is this circus about? Why are you wearing bed sheets instead of trousers? Yes, yes.
I mean, I'm not part of it, but I detach from material concepts and attach to the Lord or the
Spiritual Okay,
concept.
nice. Because you've identified and you agreed that yes, there is a soul, spirit soul within you, and you want to try and make that connection. Nice, okay, that's one answer. Yes, and so what do we do? So yes, we do. One person does that. Another person tries to realize it, and by realizing this, it's a awakening. The awakening happens like, oh my God, okay, I'm actually a soul, so therefore it now questions me, what is my purpose in this material world, in this human form of life? Is it just to accumulate, just like humans do? But the other 8.4 million species of life, 8 million species of life, they don't do that. So for example, if there is a bag of rice outside, some bird will come and eat it, some animal may come and eat it. But a human will see the bag, they'll take the whole bag, look for another bag, and there's nothing, then they'll take the whole bag. That's the greed of humanity, isn't it? So therefore, in this world, there is got to be a purpose, there's got to be an action. And so that action leads to something. Is that action to just accumulate, get a bigger house, more money, more opulence? Then what? And ultimately the body is still going to die. As soon as the body dies, everything associated with the body is gone. But as John says, any spiritual activity that he practices is eternal because its presence and impression in the mind. And the mind, remember, goes with the subtle body to its next destination. So your spiritual credits go with you. So if you finish your spiritual activity at 10%, you carry on at 11% in the next life. Whereas anything temporary, material, is finished at the time of death. You leave it. If you have £1 million in your bank account, that's gone. If you have so many houses and so many family members, that's it, finished. No more that relationship. So it's temporary. So what we do, as soon as we've understood that, we try and give this knowledge to others who may also understand, who are spiritual seekers just like John, and who want to know, okay, what is the purpose of somebody who's a spiritual person, who's a spiritual seeker. And that they're given this knowledge to be able to understand how to make a choice, to stay in this material world or eventually go back after death to the original spiritual world and not come back to the material world like that. Mais and then Christopher. You had a hand up? Yes, Prabhu.
I don't have so much love for morning program.
Okay?
I prefer work.
Sure. So everybody's nature is different. Some people's nature is to serve in the grounds and to serve nature itself. But what the morning program gives us, morning times especially 1.5 hours before sunrise, we know that chief executives of companies also use this time, 5 a.m. upwards, to make huge progress in their company without realizing they're actually accessing the spiritual sale period. There is an hour and a half before sunrise, it's called a spiritual sale period, where any activity that you do during that time is extremely enhancing to your spiritual self, and then your material self will automatically follow. Because spiritual energies are far more superior than the material energies. To drive the material energy, you require that spiritual energy to actually make yourself a great day, keep you in the mode of goodness, to give you ability to actually perform so well in your material endeavors. A little bit of spiritual boost is like a sports car getting a boost. That boost you will need to perform your services. That will make your service Krishna conscious, spiritualized, not just material. Because otherwise simply just material activities accumulates only karma. And your karma debits or credits will go up and down. But when you make that spiritual, it then allows you to understand how you can come out of this cycle of birth and death by reducing that karma balance. Because ultimately, we don't want to have any bank balance. Those who are spiritual seekers want to go back to the spiritual world. They don't want to have that balance remaining like that. They want to make a nil balance. That means, okay, I'm done with this material world. I want to go back. But if you want to stay, then you try to increase your karma credits. So you have a better opportunity in your next life. Otherwise, you go and have a bit of a hellish life like that. Okay, any other questions? Anything that you felt we discussed was over, or something that... Did it make sense, the class? Was it okay? Yeah? Yes, Maestro. Last question, 5 minutes before breakfast, before the feast.
In Bhagavad Gita, I don't remember the verse, but there is a prayer from a devotee who said, Oh, ma matinale, oh, prière 4 fois par jour, pardonnez-moi.
What's the translation?
All prayer 3 times a day, all bath in the morning, forgive me.
Yes.
I just remember Krishna.
Wherever I sit,
Sure. So you remember, you try and spiritualize your activity wherever you go to by remembering the supreme spiritual being, Krishna, and that way you spiritualize yourself, right? But sometimes, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita also, the Triguna attacks us. 3 modes of material nature, mode of ignorance, passion and goodness, are always competing for our attention. And so they bind us in the ropes or the gunas for our attention. So that's why sometimes our mind becomes flipped and we go into mode of passion or ignorance. But to save us from always remaining in the mode of goodness and doing our service in the mode of goodness, it's important to access that energy. If you're remembering Krishna all the time, that's brilliant. I mean, not many people can do that. They require this spiritual sort of boost in order to regularly remember like that. Okay? 2 more minutes?
Last question.
Sure.
So, why should I'm happy here.
Okay.
In this world.
So great.
I mean, why should I want to go somewhere else?
No, if you're happy here, that's also the process. But this process gives you ability to be even more ecstatically happy here and create yourself a perfect situation so that your next birth isn't a lower birth where you become extremely unhappy. Surely you don't want to be unhappy, right? Yes, John.
Also, I think so. I don't know because I don't remember. I don't think when you die or when you're born, you're really happy. You know, it's like really painful.
It's a painful situation. That's why we take birth crying and we are dying
you
in
have
pain.
to do it like again and again and again.
Yeah. So if you're happy with that situation, then sure, carry on. But remember, it is painful. And as we discussed, this body is a great vehicle for pain, but there is momentary happiness also, because happiness is an absence of pain. So there is pain, or unhappiness, and then there is momentary absence. That's we call happiness, and then we know there is unhappiness will come around the corner. But if we want to make our life eternally happy, which isn't possible in the material world, it is in the spiritual world, because that is the constitutional position of the soul, then we take a different route out of here. Otherwise, we stay in this world and we chance it. We chance it like that. Okay, Translation Bhagavatam Mahapuran Ki Jai. Yes, Mataji, go on.
I'm sorry. Just because of curiosity, you mentioned about saving ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That is Christian, and they are praying for others. Is it possible to save others in some
Yes,
way?
absolutely.
Praying for them?
Absolutely, of course it is, because in the Bhagavatam in Canto 4, Prahlad Maharaj is being benedicted by Nrsingadev, whereby Nrsingadev says that whoever practices this process of spiritual realization, their 7 generations ahead and 7 generations behind are all benefited as a result of that. So yes, you can pray for others, because spiritual energies work very different to material energy. Whoever you pray for, the spiritual energies goes towards that personality and helps them elevate themselves like that. So yeah, prayers are very powerful, they do work. Okay, Granth Rashman Bhagavatam Mahapuran Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you for listening, dear devotees. Now we can go and have breakfast. Hare Krishna.